Welcome to Watch Mojo. Today we're going to be counting down.
No, that's down the hall. This is easy mode.
Oh.
And you're HenryK. You're always thinking without me asking.
Oh, and you're delayed Dale. Your
Yes.
hat may be fuzzy, but your thoughts are clear.
And this is easy mode, the gaming podcast.
We're professionally casual gamers.
But we have no chill when it comes to gaming.
And not a lot of skill either, if we're being completely honest.
Hi, Henry. How are you? Welcome in.
I'm great, Dale. How are you this week? I'm so excited for today's episode.
Oh, me too. So everybody who's listening, today we got something super special planned for you. It's all about nostalgia and gaming. We're going to talk about our first consoles. We're going to share our first experiences. We're going to talk about the hits, the misses, the good, the bad, the pretty, and the ugly. And we're also going to share some fun stats because you know us, we love our numbers. But before we do any of that, I want to ask you, Henry, what have you been playing this week?
This week, I've been playing Project Zomboid, a relatively new game, I believe. It is a survival crafting sort of post-apocalyptic game. It's multiplayer. You can play with your friends. I love anything survival and crafting. However, this one is a little expansive. It's a very large game. It's a 2D game, so you can make it very, very big. The menus and all the items and everything is very sort of deep and slightly complex. So that's the only place where I'm struggling with it now, but I'm going to give it a good shot, and I'm enjoying it so far. But we'll see how long it lasts. I'll try to update us next week. What about you? What are you playing?
So a community member recently purchased Happy Home Paradise for me. So I've been fulfilling my dreams of being a designer. You know, I'm channeling my inner Nate Burkus, Bobby from Queer Eye. I'll be honest with you. I've had 3 happy customers. Nobody's complained. No complaints. So if you need something, hit me up. But that's what I've been playing.
I love that. I love Happy Homes. It's so freaking fun. It is so satisfying.
It is so relaxing. I feel like we should just immediately jump into this episode, though, because we have so much to say, and I am just so excited to talk about it. Are you okay with that? You ready to just dive on in?
I'm stoked. Let's go into it. We're going to talk about nostalgia and gaming. We're going to share some personal stories here in this first segment, and I'm so freaking excited. It's so fun. I'm so stoked. Let's get into it, Dale.
Okay, let's get directly into it. I am so excited. First of all, this whole section is all about nostalgia and gaming. Talking about our first consoles, our first gaming experiences. Henry, I'd like to ask you, what was the first console you ever had, and how old were you when you got it?
First console I ever had was the Nintendo.
Nintendo? Is that a new console? I've never heard of Nintendo.
So it was very exclusive. No one else could get it. My parents got it for me because we were on a list. No.
Oh, wow.
First console I ever had was the Nintendo Entertainment System, or the NES. I actually do have a Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I'm not gonna super age myself here. I have the first copy of Super Mario World.
Wow.
I used to love these. These were back in the day. You used to have to blow in them. You go.
Oh, yeah, the classic blowing when it doesn't work.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
And Super Mario World was actually my first game I had on that system. So the Super NES is my first system, not the regular one. However, I do have a copy of just to show you the difference of the two sizes between the Super Nintendo Entertainment System and just the regular NES. Isn't that wild?
Oh my God. No, compare those to what we have now, which is either digital or like this small. Like for the Switch, they're tiny. It takes a little chip.
Yeah, but I kind of like them. I kind of miss them. I mean, the last console you could really blow into the cartridge in was the N64. But yeah, my first one was the Super Nintendo, and it was great. I had a few great games, Super Mario World. I had Street Fighter. That really got my love into Street Fighter going. That was something that was available on that system, and it was so much fun. I loved it. It was classic, great color scheme. That gray and purple to me still hits right.
Yeah, that's very nostalgia. You're stuck in the past.
Yeah.
I love
what
that.
about you?
Honestly,
what was yours?
Yeah, so for me, it was a Nintendo 64. I didn't get it when it was released. I got it like a few years later. You know, I think at that point other consoles had come out, but like my dad got it for us because we were. This is such a fun little story. We were at a cute little farmer's market, and they had like a little booth. And by this little booth, it was just a man with a table, and he had some stuff he was selling. And I saw the Nintendo 64 with my brother, and we were like, we want it. And my dad's like, okay, fine. So my dad got us a Nintendo 64. And look at this right here. This is my Nintendo 64 controller. Okay,
a classic controller.
They don't make controllers like this anymore.
It's so
they really
good.
don't. Like, you can hold like this. You can hold like it's so great for tiny hands. Like, you know, Dale's got the little baby hands, okay? I love it. I loved it. The first game I ever had on there was The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And that is just like
the best.
That's when it hit me. And Super Mario 64, all those games. When I like look back when I was a child, I have so many fond memories. And they all kind of go around my brother and I, just like player 1, player 2, just like playing Nintendo 64. And just like you, when the game wouldn't work, we have to like blow.
I know. And then it worked.
And then it worked.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to blow in the console too. But like that is how you know that is a nostalgic game.
It really was. And even though Super Nintendo was my first system, very grateful to my parents for getting me that at such a young age. I was an only child. My parents worked, so having that system to play with was something that they were doing for me because I didn't have. What else was I gonna do? But the one I feel most connected with from my childhood is like you, Nintendo 64. My first game on there was actually Pokemon Snap. I know. We went with my cousin to the store.
I had the demo for that. And I had the demo of that, and I never got into it. But
I loved it. He was like, "Are you sure this is the game you want to get as your first game on the system?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, but I freaking love Pokemon." And I did. No regrets to this day. It's not like it's fun, actually, and interactive, but it's fun, casual, and like Pokemon were there. And
I love that.
No shade to the current Pokemon Arceus that just came out, but like I'm like in better graphics than they are in that game. But it was so beautiful. So I loved it. Yeah, Super Nintendo was my first, but Nintendo 64 was really where my heart was.
So I have a question for you. How many units do you think the Super Nintendo sold when it was released in 1990? Well, from 1990 till now, how many units do you think the Super?
I wonder when they discontinued.
Yeah.
Not that matters. That doesn't help my answer.
I think it's about like in total from 1990 till now.
I would say like maybe. I'm gonna say like 35 million. That sounds like reasonable.
49.1 mil.
Oh wow! That's almost like half 100 million. That's a lot.
I'm glad you can math. 1 + 1
We're really
equals
coming up on this.
Two brain cells. And so the Nintendo 64, I have the light gray edition, charcoal. Okay, class. I still have it. It's behind me. I don't know if you can see that. That's my Nintendo 64 right there. It came out in 1996, and I think the stat that I found was up until 2017 or up to recent. They looked at the total number of units sold, and 32.93 million units. And the Nintendo 64, that's a classic. That is a classic console. I will never get rid of this console. I want to show you something. Look at the way these plug in. Can you see how thick
love it.
that is?
I mean, I love them. I love everything about it. I wish things were clunkier these days.
I know. You know what? I really hope clunkier things kind of make their way back. Why are we making things so micro and minor? Yeah. I have tiny hands and it hurts me. Carpal tunnel. Okay.
I'm so jealous actually that you still have your console. I try not to regret it, and I don't feel bad about it because it went to a good cause. Like my mom would send my old consoles to my family in Mexico, so their kids could play it.
Wow.
And sometimes even though I miss the consoles, I'm they went on to serve their purpose a lot more than just sitting in my closet because I've already moved on to the next system. So I'm
oh, exactly.
Feels nice that gaming continues.
You're the next cycle of gaming is happening through you. They're getting they're feeling the joy.
Yeah.
And once you start with something like that and then you keep upgrading if you ever can, you really appreciate what you had in your youth and all of the memories that you've made, I really just have so many feelings of happiness. Maybe if I gamed more old nostalgic games, I'd feel happier. Is this what I'm getting out of this right now? But I was a pretty happy kid, all things considered. It was always there for me. My brother and I could always play games. Mario Kart, the first Mario Kart, well, not the first, but on the Nintendo 64. Yeah. I was always player 1, and I was like, stop screen sniping, because it was the split screen.
I mean, even now, I still say stop screen sniping me.
And you're sitting alone in your apartment.
Very too accurate. But yeah, I don't feel bad. I have those memories, and I still have them now. I don't need the console to have them, so it's very nice.
No. You know what? I should send you a photo of myself and my brother when we were young, playing with the Nintendo 64.
Aww.
We're just laughing.
That's so freaking cute.
I'm not gonna post it online or anywhere because protect his identity. But yeah, I'll send it to you after, and then you can feel a little bit of nostalgia through my youth and such.
And then I'll reflect on my lonely childhood where it was I.
Yeah,
in the
you
system.
definitely were alone. But however, you had a good time. Your parents loved you.
I did
Shout
have a
out to
good
your
time.
parents, and the fact that they got you a console so that you had something to do is amazing.
Yeah, thank you for
I love
confirming
that.
my parents love me. I appreciate that. I needed to hear that.
No,
today.
and I need to hear that sometimes about myself too. I'm like, do they? No, they actually do. My mom listens to the podcast.
Yeah.
Shout out. Love
Shout
her.
out, Dale's mom. We love you.
Yeah, so I feel like that's kind of like what we wanted to talk about today. Please do tweet us your personal experiences with nostalgic gaming, because I really want to know what your first console was and what was the first game that you ever played.
Yes, tell us the
third
first game.
Because I'm feeling like a little bit of a Barbara Walters, maybe had a little bit too much coffee. I don't
Okay.
actually drink coffee, but this is beyond the point. Tell me what feeling you feel when you reflect on your nostalgic games. I just want to know if
I
it's like
love
a universal happiness, or like, I don't think anybody should have any resentment. Like, I don't think that that's an emotion that you can really put with like these classic consoles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, simpler time. I mean,
Yeah.
all our childhood, simpler times. So just more joy.
Yeah.
Don't grow up.
That's what we need in life. We need more joy. Dad, don't grow. No, this is like the Peter Pan all over again. Yeah. So I think we should take a little break now and, just kind of reminisce in the happiness. And then we're going to dive into some successful consoles throughout the decades. And I'm really excited to hear these
Ooh,
stats.
I'm excited
Yeah.
about that.
Okay, we're back. We're going to talk about some successes, consoles throughout the decade.
We love success.
Henry, we love success. I mean, we're trying to get there. I believe in us. I believe in you, me, and all the things we can achieve. Let's try to emulate our lives after these 10 most successful selling consoles throughout the decades. Okay, let's do that.
I'm ready.
I'm going to read them out to you. I'm not going to make you guess, because I hate these whole like, can you guess how much? And then they like go through the list. No, I'm going to read them out.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay?
I don't know. I mean,
Obviously, people have you guess all the time, and I'm like, okay, just tell me. Like, we could be sitting here forever to like get the number. This is a direct call out to my dad for making me guess everything.
I don't work in the industry.
Okay, so coming in at number 10 is the Xbox One. 41 million units and counting have been sold.
Wow.
Number 9, we have the Super Nintendo with 49.1 million. Your classic.
That
little
one's
bebe,
mine.
That's
Representation
you, babes.
matters.
Representation matters. Then we have the Nintendo Entertainment System with 61.91 million.
Wow.
Coming in at number 7, we have the Nintendo Switch, 84.59 million and counting.
That's a lot.
Hello, shout
We
out
love
to-
you, Nintendo Switch.
That's a lot. We love that, a recent one too. Then we have the Xbox 360, 85.5 million.
That was
Coming in at number 5. Oh, that was what?
That was my only participation. Oh my gosh.
Participation?
Can you say the
You
word
need
for me?
help?
I'm trying to say.
Participation?
Yes, into the Microsoft's game system. Go at 360. Love you so much. Bought you refurbished at GameStop.
I love that. So the Xbox 360 was 85.5 million. Then we get into, top 5. Before we get into the top 5, I just want to ask you, who do you think is in the top 5? We've got Sony, we got Microsoft, we got Nintendo. Who do you think is in the top 5?
I mean, okay, just using some context clues and powers of my brain, we haven't covered any PlayStations yet. So I'm assuming they're going to really saturate that list. And you're smiling right now because I used my brain for the first time on the show.
You did use your brain for this.
Context clues. I'm assuming some Sony PlayStation systems are up there, but otherwise, I don't know. I mean, we're missing a few on there. Like the GameCube's gone, and there's no Wii. I mean, the Wii U, but I don't think that did well. So,
yeah. Keep in mind, this is just the top 10.
yeah.
We're not talking about the flops or anything. Top 10. Okay, so number 5, the console that. This console, I'm about to say it and I already got the chills. Okay, I know whoever's listening, you can't see me. I got the chills. It might be because of my fans on, but number 5, the console that Dale fell in love with gaming, PlayStation 3. It sold 86.9 million units.
That's a lot of
mine.
units.
Love it.
What game
When
made
mine
you fall in love
died-
with gaming on that?
Infamous, and then God
that's
of
right.
War. And now God of War is out on PC, and I'm like, I don't think my PC can run it. You know what I mean? Okay. Number 4, we have the Nintendo Wii.
That was a huge one at the time.
That huge. 101.53 million for the Nintendo Wii. That is
The Wii had
a lot.
the most successful implementation of motion system gaming that any console has ever had.
Do you still have your Wii?
I actually have a hacked Wii that I hacked myself. I know. I'm sorry. Is that a crime? We're gonna delete it.
Yeah.
JK.
Cut it out.
I actually have my Wii here that I bought like 2 years ago. I got a Wii 2 years ago because I wanted to play Mario Kart, and I didn't have a Switch back then. It was maybe it was a little more than 2 years ago. It was pre-Switch. I did not have any Nintendo system, and we wanted to play Mario Kart. So I was like, let's just buy a Wii. I bought a Wii from $80 off Facebook Marketplace. Picked it up.
$80?
Yeah. Picked it up.
2 years ago? Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
a few years ago. Picked it up, brought it back, and played Wii that night.
Wow.
Yeah.
I still have my Wii too. I think it's like a good social party game, you know, but we're not here to talk about the Wii. We're talking about the top console. So Wii was number 4. Shout out, Nintendo Wii system. A lot of fun memories with you. Number 3 was just the PlayStation 1.
Oh, wow.
104.25 million units sold.
That's a lot.
Number 2, PlayStation 4, 115.4 million. I love my PlayStation 4. Holy crap. I just have a little bit of beef right now. I just need to tell everyone
I'm
about
vegan,
this.
so let's not.
And then, no, you know what? This ain't about you right now. Okay, so before we get to the number 1 spot, I just need to tell my beef about my PlayStation 4. My brother and I, we used to like live together like at home, and we would pitch in to buy consoles. However, I pitched in more for the PlayStation 4. Okay, this part is really important. My brother purchases a home. What does he take with him? Yeah, he takes the PlayStation 4.
So how could he?
I mean, like, I'm not going to play it here, but like, I'm still a little bit salty about
Yeah, how
that.
did you sort it out? What happened? He still has it?
We didn't. He still has it. I mean, it's like fine because he plays it, but like,
I would not have
I just
allowed
love
that.
it. You wouldn't have. Well, you're an only child, okay? So you need to figure it out. If you grew up with a sibling, you would have learned how to share. So, and coming in at number 1, the PlayStation 2 with 157.68 million copies. That console is so. When I talk to people about like their first console, PlayStation 2 pops out for so many of them.
It was huge.
Like you either started off with like Nintendo or you started off with like PlayStation, you know? Like there's like a whole different path in which where you started and kind of like the games you like now because what was available for your console and what was available like I guess for you.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I never had a PlayStation 2, but a lot of my friends did. I mean, and playing games on that was like a revolutionary experience at the time. From PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2, the graphics, the gameplay, the games available, there's a lot of third-party integration. I mean, you could do, I feel like you could have done anything on that thing. It also felt very futuristic at the time.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, this
like
is
the
the
design
future.
and everything?
Yeah, PlayStation
It is the
stepped up
future.
design ahead of a lot of these other developers, and it just made it feel like the future. You know, a lot of these have a lot of a gray scheme, like grays across a lot of these. Initial PlayStation, obviously initial Nintendo.
I'm sad that the Nintendo 64 isn't on there.
Yeah, I know.
I'll be honest with you.
I understand,
but it's okay. I mean, they're probably still like well sold.
Yeah,
and
I would buy one now.
That,
I will buy one now if I find one on eBay.
Yeah, do it.
I might
if you can.
I will.
I loved, and it's not on the top 10, but it's the top 3 in my heart. This is the Nintendo GameCube console. This is I need to unravel it for you. This is the controller that I spent so many hours playing.
It's so good.
It's
perfect. Nintendo are my favorite controllers. And you know what?
They're so fun.
The only thing I have to say about Nintendo controllers is that from 64 to now, they have not resolved their joystick issues.
They really
Their
haven't.
joystick issues have gone through every console. Why do they make games
Nintendo?
where you have to move the joystick like a crazy person if the joystick can't handle it?
Yeah. That is some fair criticism. Hi, Nintendo. I know one day you're going to listen to the podcast. Please consider our pleas and cries for help.
Yeah.
This isn't for therapy. It's please fix your joystick.
It's been through our whole lives that those joysticks have not worked efficiently and haven't survived.
Look at this controller right now. Look at how it flops around. Do you see?
Look. I mean, you
just
have to
really
move those things so hard.
Yeah, you really would. That was a little bit aggressive, but we're gonna move past that. So and now that I've talked about the biggest successes, you've had you've done some research for the biggest flops.
I have, and this was a very fun list of games to research, and I think there's some wild things we've never heard of. I was surprised when I read through some of these, and then some of the things some of these big flops, I was like, wow, I thought these were actually big. They weren't. They were absolute failures.
Okay.
So entering my flop era.
Your flop era?
This is my flop era right now.
Okay.
Dale, did you know what kind of phone do you have?
Right now? Well, I have an Android for work,
never
for
mind.
personal, and then my iPhone.
Okay.
And then my iPhone for personal. Is that what you mean?
That's what we wanted to hear. iPhone. I can't believe you admitted you had an Android.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We don't hate any phone system here. But Apple released a gaming system.
What?
Yes. Apple released their own gaming console. It was called the Apple Bondi Pippin. It was released.
Okay, can I just interrupt you right here?
Yeah.
When you said Apple released a product and we're talking about the biggest flops, the fact that it didn't cue into my head, instant flop.
I know.
Continue.
I mean, and here's the thing. It was released around the same time as your favorite first console, the Nintendo 64.
What?
The launches were around that similar time.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, okay. Wow.
Obviously, Apple's not really entered the gaming sense in like outside of Apple Arcade, and they sort of are in a gaming sense, but like not console wise or not development wise. They do more like mobile games kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or TV. But the Apple Bondi Pippin released around the same time as the Nintendo 64. Some of the reasons of its flop were that it really didn't have a large game library, but also the price. The price was a big issue.
Really?
Releasing
What was
around the same time
price?
as Nintendo, the Apple Bondi Pippin cost $600.
Okay, they went for a premium pricing strategy. Clear flop. Who was part of their release team?
No idea.
Who
This was
thought of
released
this?
for $600, while at that same time, the Nintendo 64 was available to purchase with a much larger gaming library for just $200. The price point difference there is insane to me.
Yeah. Well, I find that with Apple products, they tend to really go for the higher earners. So I can see why they're a premium product, I have no issues with my iPhone, but looking at what you just said, 600 versus 200 and you don't have a big library and it's okay. All right. Well, I see why you failed. Apple Bandai Pippin.
Yep.
Amazing.
I
Holy
know.
crap. Okay.
Now, the next one I have for you is was a big system. I was surprised to see that it was on this list, but also it makes sense. It was exciting to me at the time, but it wasn't. I didn't have it, and I never played it, honestly.
Okay, I'm excited to hear what you say.
Opposite to the top 10 list that you have, with the Wii U entering the top 4 at 101 million copies, immediately flopping after that release was the Nintendo Wii U.
You said the Wii U. Oh, you meant the Nintendo Wii.
The Nintendo Wii sold 100 million,
okay,
over 100 million copies.
Yeah, and then the Wii U. Okay, that's not a surprise to me.
Yeah,
I don't understand what it was. The same thing as the Wii.
It was the same,
but just different. And why would you swap if it wasn't? Sometimes these companies, they come out with consoles that just don't hit it. I mean, PlayStation doesn't.
Yeah,
but sometimes yeah.
Well, I mean, the big difference was. The motion controls were now integrated into that large, bulky remote with the screen you held under your hand.
Okay.
So that was sort of a big component to its failure. No one liked that remote. The screen was clunky. It didn't really add a lot of additional features to the games. The price was too much of an increase for a next gen launch for it to not be that different. And also, it had no storage.
Oh my God.
Yep. And it really didn't have any additional features. In Wii U, we started to get sort of, in the Wii, we started to get, additional app integration for Nintendo, which is still something we need a lot of, but that's where it sort of began. There was sort of that third-party app integration. And then into the Wii U, there really wasn't anything different when it came to that. There was no extra features. You were just buying almost it's almost like they developed the Wii and the Wii U at the same time. And they launched the Wii U, and then they launched the Wii. And they just had the Wii U sort of sitting there, and they're like, "Oh, let's launch this too, as a next gen console." But
yeah,
it wasn't anything different. So I don't think anyone felt interested to buy it.
It looked really ugly. It also looked really ugly. Something about it was just so. I don't really know how to describe it besides the words I'm about to use. Thick.
It was
and,
thick,
janky.
Yeah.
And like the color scheme was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I saw commercials about it. I'm like, who's going to buy this?
I don't think I knew anyone who
never
had
got it.
one, if I'm being completely honest.
I knew some people and like they never talked about it. Like they bought it and they never like were raving about it. So
Yeah. And I don't think they had any major launches on that system either.
they really didn't. Like a
So
major flop.
rip Wii U. Sorry. Couldn't be us.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. When I think Atari, what do you think? Or when I say Atari,
I think of like Atari. I think success. I mean, it wasn't in the top 10, which I was like, okay, because I've heard so many, people saying like Atari first console. Like I thought it would be such like a big shift impact, but we are talking about the flop. So are you about to say Atari?
Yes. So Atari launched a console called the Atari Jaguar.
Oh, that's your first issue. Jaguar?
Okay. Honestly, the branding for it, to me, in my opinion, was fantastic. It was sort of like this like hyper neon graphic that was like almost like 80s gaming extreme sort of branding. It had like an actual like cool Jaguar print. They had merch. Like
we love
their
that.
marketing and branding, I thought was very important. I would buy that now. That you can convince me to buy that now. But so Atari, when we think Atari, we think like arcade classics.
Yes.
If you go to a bar that has arcade games, a lot of those games are going to be Atari games. So their company was split into two different sectors. One being that sort of arcade console classic game development of the game themselves, and then they started a whole new branch for at-home console systems. And of course, this is at a time where at-home consoles are sort of just beginning and sort of becoming something new that people are getting in their homes. Much like the Apple Pippin and the Nintendo 64, at-home consoles are sort of a new concept, and it's becoming more and more common. So this launched about that time. Unfortunately, it did flop. It had a very limited game collection. And unfortunately, I think it just was a poor timing and and just a little... Yeah, I would just say it's poor timing in general.
It wasn't the moment.
It wasn't the moment for the system.
Yeah.
So it had a very limited game collection, like a lot of other game systems on this flops. But it was the first console to ever have PC imports. So games that people were playing on PC at that time were being imported onto the system. And then the graphics were also, for a system at this time, very nice and like above and beyond a lot of these other consoles at the time. And even Atari games.
Wow.
So the graphics were good, but nothing else sort of really brought people to it. I just think it was not the right time for a launch of the system. However, it was...
So the Atari system, what you're saying is like when Lady Gaga released Art Pop and the world wasn't ready.
Yeah, it wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
It was not the right time.
So the Atari is Art Pop. Okay.
Atari's Lady Gaga's Art Pop. Exactly. You heard it here first, folks.
Heard it here, folks.
Now, a big detriment in the next one. We were bragging on Sony. They hold the top 4 out of 5 spots on that success list. A huge flop that they have on their radar that they don't even acknowledge to this day. Like this poor system is the Sony PlayStation Vita. So that was like Sony's first dive into a handheld. Exactly.
I remember that. Can I just share a quick story about this?
Yes.
I visited my cousin in London and he had this console. And he just had like a couple games on it. And I looked at him like, this doesn't look fun. This doesn't look cool. It was so janky, like in terms of me trying to do stuff. And like, it was pricey, but I'm like, this ain't worth it. Like, this is not worth it. It doesn't have like a huge library from like, maybe like from what he had. But I was like, this is not fun. Like, it was such a weird, my hands were confused. Anyways, continue.
I mean, you hit every nail on the head there, Dale. It was extremely high cost. The system really had no extra features. It was one of the first systems to have that sort of AAA game import into the system. However, it obviously did not run as well as it would on those, like a PlayStation or a system like that. It didn't have a lot of storage, and when you could buy additional storage at the time, you had to buy memory cards. And of course, at that time, those things were very expensive.
Yes.
SD cards before were very expensive. I mean, now we're buying like tetrabytes and like these tiny cards, but you really couldn't do that at the launch.
Back in the day, if we have like a younger audience listening, I just want you to know that it was hard
to store things.
Okay, like you really don't, please don't take what you have now for granted, because you could be like us trying to save up for an SD card.
I know they don't give you any options for larger system storage like they do now.
They really don't. No.
Yeah, so no extra features. The storage was expensive, but at the time, it did have good gameplay. So the games were running well. They were running higher capacity games than a lot of other handheld systems. But the system was fragile. It was heavy. It was bulky. People weren't going to take it anywhere. I remember my friend's PlayStation Vita, his was like falling apart. Like it was made of very like fragile, hard material, but thin. So it was very easy to damage.
Oh, yeah.
And even to this day, Sony does not acknowledge. Well, at the time, Sony didn't put enough money, development, and support to the system. So that led to a lot of the failure as well. But to this day, Sony does not really acknowledge the PlayStation Vita at its trade shows. When it reflects on its history and past and like public forums, they like won't talk about the PlayStation Vita. And I feel so bad for it.
Can you blame them? Can you blame them though? Like, do you talk about your failures? Like your worst failure ever? Do you ever bring it up?
Oh, all the time. Let's put it on the table.
No, you know what? I walked into that.
I know. I will. I do. I'd be like, look at what I learned from this terrible thing I did and how bad it went because of how poorly I planned it.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think I blame them for the fact they don't talk about it.
I get it. Yeah,
I wouldn't either.
I mean, they have a reputation to uphold, so I get it.
No, obviously. So, like, if people don't know, they don't know.
My reputation
ignorance is bliss.
Includes my failures, so that's why I'll talk about mine.
I love that.
Last one I have for you on this list, Dale, is one we know, and when you hear the name, you're like, oh, I know what that is, and that's the Sega Dreamcast. Yeah, and to me,
it's on the flop.
What?
It's a classic.
I know it is a classic. But when I started researching about it, I kind of laughed. But much like the Atari Jaguar, this was one that was sort of ahead of its time. It had a lot of amazing sort of applications and a lot of integrations, but like the world wasn't ready for it. It did have a really, really bad launch from Sega. It had just come from another previous bad launch of the Sony Saturn. So it sort of followed up a bad launch. So there was not a lot of momentum for the Sega Dreamcast. It was like everything was going downhill for them, unfortunately. It did have poor marketing. It's actually still mocked to this day. The slogan for Sega Dreamcast, it's hard to say this without laughing. I actually do think it's pretty funny that they like, who would think this? I'm sorry, marketing team, if you're listening. But no,
don't be sorry. They should learn from this.
They should learn from our roasting. Their slogan was "It's thinking." And that is the last thing I need my gaming system to do. I needed to play the freaking game.
Your gaming console is it's thinking?
It's thinking. Yeah, that's it. That was the slogan.
That's it. That's wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, it's thinking? I was like, that makes me think of loading screens. That makes me think of like it doesn't know how to play my game.
Oh my God, I don't like this. You know what? That makes sense why it was a freaking flaw.
And then, it did have some wild things like online integration. Which unfortunately I think was just a little too early for that, but it didn't have third-party support. It came from a bad launch, and then since it didn't have third-party integration, the game library was not great. So, I think we see what the main things that cause a lot of flops are: poor gaming library, high cost, and then no third-party integration. Those are the big factors here in all this.
And just like the planning for the marketing, I don't know if you just said that, but my brain just went burr. Terrible marketing.
It's thinking.
And I feel like a lot of these consoles are like art pop, the world just wasn't ready.
And that really makes you think about games that were failures, about other things that could have launched and it just wasn't the right time. And that's so unfortunate because, you if you would have just waited on the idea, but I don't know. I guess that's life.
We just talked about the flops, and I didn't write this, but I just had like a great idea. So we're just going to input it in here because we love it. Oh, thank you. At least somebody should be. So I like consoles that like just are so groundbreaking. The Nintendo DS. The Flip. Did you have one? Did you ever have a Nintendo DS? Of course.
How could I not?
Oh my God. So this I think was actually really cool. I don't know how well the 2D did, like the Nintendo DS, then the 2DS. I never got a 2DS. But I got a 3DS.
I did too.
And then they had the 3DS like small and the XL.
Yep.
Like I have one story to share with you, and feel free to roast me in a tweet, anybody. It's fine. Or tell me your most embarrassing story like this.
Right now.
They have like the limited edition like Zelda Triforce, the gold one.
I remember.
Okay? I wanted it. I wanted it so bad. At the time I didn't drive, so I made my parents basically drive me to when Best Buy would open up. I was the first and only person.
I was going to say, were you the only person too?
I was the first and only person. I went in because everybody was there for like expecting other consoles because it was launched at like the same time I think other big consoles were being launched. So I go in and I'm like, I'm here for the Nintendo 64, and they're like, what? That's the Nintendo DS, and I got it, and I was like so happy. But yeah, that's my story.
Can I say that actually really? Even though I did roast you, that really warms my heart genuinely. Like, I do feel very warm inside from hearing your excitement about that. Like, if I was just a little more unstable this morning, I think I would have cried a little.
I do see the tears starting to glisten, so it's okay. It's okay to cry after.
Well, actually, since you brought up the Nintendo DS, can I tell you some interesting facts?
Sure.
Much like this Sony PlayStation Vita, they both launched not too different of a time. The Nintendo DS did not have a good launch.
It didn't.
Nintendo really struggled. They had to lower the price point 6 months in. But here was the difference. Nintendo committed to making that console a success by adding a lot of third-party games.
I just got the chills when you said that.
Lowering the price. They really committed for the long run. And obviously the development into that. They were big with Game Boy. So that was a big launch for them. So they really sort of owned the handheld space. So they committed to the Nintendo DS and the whole line of products. And obviously that became a lot bigger. And so big props to Nintendo for committing. But like, if your launch a flop, try to make it better. Listen to what people are saying. And Nintendo did end up getting it there. And listen to what people said for the first time.
We love that. We love when you hear feedback and you actually improve it.
Yeah.
And something that should be said about like handheld games is that you need to enjoy your experience and everything should be kind of seamless. Like I have so many memories of just like hours and hours of playing Nintendo DS, like in my bed, or like I'm supposed to be asleep and my mom like comes, you like fake pretend to sleep. You pull out your DS from under the pillow when she leaves.
That's
like,
right. That's exactly because it turns on
like
and off so fast. So it was great.
Yes, exactly. So I'm so glad that they continue to like put work into it. I still have my DS.
I do have mine as well.
3DS.
I don't have a charger
the
for
classic.
But
I have the classic one, and it was so
the
bulky.
gray.
Yeah,
I have that one too.
The first one was the red, and then I have the gray. Yeah,
I have the gray.
It's a good time.
Well, so fun. This was great. Thank you for letting me know the successes. Obviously, the failures. Always
thank you for
fun to
telling me
talk
the
about.
flops.
Huh?
We always have to talk about. I said thank you for sharing the flops. We always have to talk about the highs and lows.
Yes, much like in life.
Yeah.
And now, let's take a little break. But I'm going to tell you the category that we would fit in, and that's going to be the weirdest consoles.
That's our category.
The category we belong in.
I'm excited.
I'm excited to get into it. Can't wait to tell you about them, and we'll be right back. Weirdos, it's the oddballs, it's the odd person out, it's the weirdest consoles, in my opinion, that I found that have launched so far. Are you excited for this one, Dale? This is the category we would fit in.
Yeah, you did start describing me, and I got excited because I was finally seen in my life.
We should make a personality test. Which weird console are you? And then
you tweet us, guys. If we did that, would you take the test? Because I'm curious.
I love a quiz. I will take any quiz anyone says.
Too.
Personality test, I'm there.
They are just so much fun.
They are.
But yeah, do tell me about these consoles. I'm excited.
So the way I've sort of covered this list so far is this: if they sort of function weird, if they were sort of a weird impact in society, if they had sort of any notoriety or controversy that came along with it because of how odd they were, or if they were just like outright pointless or just like, what the hell is this? I don't have that many for you, but the first one I'm going to start off with, and I've known of this for a while, but I just didn't understand like the repercussions it had. And the first one is the Nintendo Virtual Boy. Do you know what that is?
No.
So
no, I don't.
The Nintendo Virtual Boy, unlike
is
the
that
Game
the
Boy,
name?
different boy.
Okay. Wow, that's the actual name. Okay,
Nintendo Virtual Boy, yes, was Nintendo's first step into a virtual system. So they tried to do. Let me tell you exactly when it came out because it was some time back. Nintendo Virtual Boy came out in 1995, which is obviously a big early step into virtual gaming when maybe we don't have the technology for it. But Nintendo Virtual Boy had a very limited library. But the funniest part of it to me, and this isn't funny because health issues aren't funny, the system was determined to be bad for people's health. The games were only visible in red and black. Those are the only two colors the system ran in.
Oh my God.
And it was bad it caused damage to people's eyes. It caused extreme nausea, sickness, and could also cause seizures. because of like the strain and the impact it had on you visually. It looks.
You know what's kind of crazy? This came out right before the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Like a year before.
Yeah.
What were they thinking? The 90s? Okay, continue.
Yeah, everything. I mean, I looked at the games. I mean, it doesn't look that bad, but like when you think about, you have to put this big bulky thing on. It's 1995, and it's gonna make you sick, and it's just gonna be determined as a system that's bad for you. I just think that is the funniest, but also such a terrible thing to happen for a console and for the people. I just wouldn't. It looks cool in my opinion. I would say like this is like a fun like futuristic accessory, but big weirdo
For like a
did
photo
not work
shoot.
out for them.
Of course, I get it. That also the name is gross.
Virtual Boy. Hi,
Virtual Boy.
I'm Henry and I'm your virtual boy.
You are a virtual boy right now.
I am.
I've actually never met you in
It's
person.
true. I
Nobody
have
has
my virtual
here.
camera on and everything. I don't
Yeah, me
exist.
too. Virtual, yes. Hello, hi.
You programmed me to be your co-host. I'm just a VTuber. The next one is sort of fun, and I love celebrities. I love drama. I love sort of when celebrities get involved in things they shouldn't. And the next one is fun.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of this, mainly because this person's not Canadian, but the Soulja Boy console.
Oh, we know Soldier Boy. You know what? This is like unrelated to what you're about to say, but stop trying to be relevant. Your time has passed, okay? That's what I have to say about Soldier
I feel
Boy.
bad. Like I'm like everyone should really go for it, but maybe not this way.
Yeah.
Maybe a different route.
Okay.
You know, he does stream on Twitch too. He keeps getting banned. I just saw an article on that. But the Soulja Boy console was basically just like a glorified emulator. It came with 3,000 installed games, Dale, from every major gaming system, from every major developer. So it was PlayStation, Sony, Xbox, Nintendo.
That's not legal. What the fuck? Who
Well, that
thought
was
of
the
this?
issue, is that it wasn't legal to do that.
Why are you? Who? Somebody sat down with him and said, "That's the idea, and we're going for it." Who did that?
And the law allows it. Like, no, I mean, it's not allowed, but like someone had to tell him that was going to be okay.
Yeah,
He had
oh my
Legend of
God.
Zelda games on there. I'm like, that's not how licensing works.
No,
That's not how any of this works.
Oh my God.
And to come pre-installed with 3,000 games, I think that's just the biggest red flag for me. If something's coming with games, something's not right, because no one's giving you anything for free.
No, this definitely feels like clout sucking. That failed.
It was. I mean, I think he was sued by a few different parties, and then I mean, basically, it was just a very expensive glorified emulator. I don't think it was expensive actually, but it was just a glorified emulator, which, as we know, as streamers and gamers, is illegal for the most part. So don't do that. And then I think he also like went on to try to launch a handheld console, which also did not do well. So I mean, like, I'm sorry, Soulja Boy. I'm sorry things aren't working out for you.
I do want to say that I hope
things aren't working out for you. You.
I need to step away. I don't.
Oh my
I was
gosh,
not
that was so
expecting
funny. I didn't even
No,
plan
I was not
it.
expecting that. You want to know my beef with Soulja Boy? This has nothing to do with gaming.
Is this personal with him?
This is personal. It's so when I was younger, I tore my ACL, my meniscus, but I stopped laughing. I was misdiagnosed for 3 years.
Oh, that's
so I had a
terrible.
birthday party and we were all like dancing to Soulja Boy, and I did the you, and my knee buckled so hard I couldn't bring it back to like fully straighten for a week, and I cried, and the pain and stuff like that is like a core memory. And also he's just like he's not the moment. Okay, it's not an art pop. This is a flop. Okay. This is like Robin Thicke releasing an album about his wife.
Oh my gosh,
Okay?
I did not think the Soulja Boy console. I didn't think you and Soulja Boy had so much beef.
We
did
do,
not think this was
okay?
the
I
business
know
we were
you're
end
the
up.
vegan, but I love Korean barbecue. All right, so there we go.
Oh my gosh, I
Carry
can't
on,
believe that.
carry on.
Nintendo making another appearance on this list, Dale. In that same general area as the Wii U, right after the regular Wii was launched, they launched the Wii Mini.
I remember the Wii Mini, and I'm like, who's gonna buy that?
So I had actually never even seen, heard, had knowledge of the Wii Mini. And you said it exactly right. It was pointless. It had no point.
Right.
There was no reason to launch it. No one had any reason to buy it. The price point wasn't that different. It was just a smaller version of the Wii. No one needed it. No one asked for it. Again, I feel like it was developed around the same time and they just put it out as well. But they didn't need it. It was pointless. That was the main thing. No one needed the Wii Mini, and no one bought it. So
there we go.
Yeah. And then the last one, this one, I kind of think it could have been big. Like maybe you and I should start developing this sort of type console, and maybe we'll be millionaires. We'll talk to, I don't know, we'll talk to Bill Gates. I don't know. Melinda.
Oh, I've got him on speed dial.
Yeah, let's just call
they're
him up
divorced.
right
They're
after.
divorced. So
And-
let's not bring up the trauma.
What?
They're divorced, so don't bring up the trauma.
Oh, I mean, I'll go with either of them.
Okay,
Is her name Melinda or Melissa?
I think it's Melinda.
Yeah, I think it's Melinda. Melinda seems great, honestly, in my opinion.
Maybe you should know the name before you try to contact them.
Okay, the next one. It's the Nokia. Shocking thing to start off to hear first.
Yeah,
Nokia.
Nokia.
They launched a combination phone console.
What?
It was a phone, and it was a video game console.
Was it bricked?
It was a thicky brick. So it was like
you got my joke.
the
I
Nokia
think you got my
phone.
joke.
No, I got your
Yeah?
joke.
Okay. Okay, it was like the Nokia phone.
It was
Yes.
like a Nokia phone, just slightly curved, almost like a crescent shape, and then had a library. People said that some of the criticism was it didn't have a large gaming library, but for a freaking phone, it had 63 games on it. Which
a
I mean,
lot
to
for
me,
a
I'm like,
phone.
that's more games than I have. Not on
Yeah.
Steam, but like physical
Yeah,
games.
let's not talk about Steam. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
But I think it was just ahead of its time. It didn't run very well, and it also was super clunky. So you have to carry this freaking double brick of a phone around with you to play games and to make phone calls, and you have to hold that up to your head. Not effective.
Oh.
Doesn't work. Wasn't easy. Wasn't smooth, and it wasn't a success.
Also, like, what if you have limp wrists? Or you haven't been like lifting? I feel like that's a liability.
Yeah, it was a
waiting
little
to
chunky
happen.
monkey. It was banana shaped.
Mhm.
But I think something like that could do well now, maybe.
You know, it's the Gen Z wanting to like feel like I was born in the wrong era and like that kind of stuff. I feel like it would go really popular with that, because Chunky is making its way back. We
Yeah.
got the chunky shoes. Chunky. The only thing I want is chunky controllers so my hands can feel a little bit more comfortable.
I would love a little off topic. Did you have a Sidekick?
No, what is that?
It was a flip phone. It had that flip screen and it had a keyboard. If I could have that phone now, I would.
Oh, I had something like that, but that's not what it called. I had the LG chocolate, I think is what it was called.
Oh yeah, that
But
was
it was also like a
smaller.
slider.
This was
Yeah.
like this big. It had a full keyboard. It was freaking great.
Also, this is unrelated. We can cut this out. But do you remember that music video with Kelly Rowland? Where
Yes, she was typing in
that
Excel.
she's on Excel.
That was so sad to watch.
Anyways, continue.
Um,
Back to what you were saying.
Nokia phone console. Yeah, that was my last one. These are sort of like some weirdos and all bells. I think there's a lot more if we really, really like deep dive. But I think we'd have to dedicate like a whole episode for that because it console launches and like what companies are thinking and how they're trying to be in the forefront or creative or different.
Mm-hmm.
There's something so exciting about that, but also like when things flop or when things go bad, it's just so funny. It's not funny because people lose their jobs, but but like to think a whole company had to back this like terrible idea that did not work out, and how many yeses you had to have to get to that point, and it didn't work. It didn't work.
Well, looking at this, we have like two Nintendo on like the weirdest, and we had Nintendo on like the biggest flops. However, we also had Nintendo in the top 10. So there's like a prime example of a company that's trial and error. They tried, they had error, they moved on, they improved. I do agree with you saying that they probably did have a product already planned, so they just didn't want to like waste the money. There's going to be collectors who are going to buy anything, right? So they are going to have some sales. I don't know if they I don't know what their freaking financial statements look like. I don't really want to have a look at that, but it's so interesting to see. Also with PlayStation 2, like we talked about, flop with the handheld. We don't talk about it.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it. So it's cool. Some people learn and some people don't. Okay.
Yeah, and I
I
wonder
feel like these flops don't learn.
if that has a lot to
Continue,
do now with maybe my Nintendo seems so strict and regimented as opposed to how it used to be. Like right now, I
Right.
feel like Nintendo is a very strict and like clear path company that sticks to what they're doing, and then that's it. They don't really venture
Mhm.
out as much as they used to. And I wonder if a
Mhm.
lot of this has anything to do with it. I'd be intrigued on, what their core values are and their mission statement is at this time.
Should we do a business analysis like I do for CPA?
Oh, that would be
On
great.
Nintendo?
Honestly, let's deep dive
Okay.
into what these companies are doing. That actually would not be a bad episode, but we'll talk about that later. That's it for Weirdest Consoles. We'll be right back. We're going to take a little break, but this has been so fun. I love this episode.
It's amazing how much nostalgia and gaming have completely impacted our lives. When we look back on our childhoods, we I mean, I'm speaking for both of us. Feel free to chime in if you feel like it. I feel like we both would have never imagined how much our first console would have impacted our life now, like how we started and where we are. You know, we started with our Nintendos, and now we've created a podcast for gaming. That is, I would have never, as a wee little lass, okay? Lass and lad, you know, I got my wigs. I would have never thought that I would be sitting here with you, my virtual boy, and that I programmed to be talking about gaming. So that's beautiful.
It is. It's so nice. And even just thinking about it now, the way that the games from those consoles specifically have influenced what I like and play, I think is out of this world. The way it's shaped me, my interests, what I enjoy, what stories I enjoy, that has a lot to do with it. And look at us. We're here. Who would have thought?
We're here.
Not me.
We're thriving and driving. I mean, that got a little dark, but I love it. I love you.
If you like this week's episode, if you want to shoot us out some of the games that you like Dale said earlier in the episode, tweet us what your first games were. Tweet us what your first consoles were. Let us know what you liked and what shaped you. We would love to hear it. Also, we do include polls and questions. If you listen on Spotify, those questions are on the app. So make sure to fill this out because we love hearing from you. We love knowing, and it sort of gives us some insight into what you like, and I think that's fun. Make sure to follow us on our platforms. Share this episode with a friend if you've connected with someone through those old consoles, maybe your brother, maybe a cousin, maybe a family member, a parent. Share also your stories with us.
I want to say also remember every Wednesday the video of the podcast is released on YouTube. So why don't you gather around with the whole family and just watch and feel the memories come back.
Yeah, and this week's episode will be sure to include a lot more graphics for the games and consoles. There's a lot to show off visually for this episode, so I'll make sure to include that in this week's episode so you can see what we've had to see that we didn't see because we weren't alive when it was out.
And you can see the controllers that I hold up, and Henry's holding up the games. There's a lot of stuff you want to see here.
Yeah, so make sure to check us out on YouTube. It's a very fun time. You can see our silly faces along as we stumble through these episodes.
You can see how he reacts to me whenever I say something stupid. But, as we're wrapping up, we always talk about, what game are you looking forward to? What game are you looking to play after this? Henry.
I know I've praised and flamed Nintendo a little bit through this episode. I'm going to flame them right now, but in that same breath, I'm going to tell you that I am buying the game. So, actions speak louder than words. I am ready to purchase Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Is it Arceus or Arceus?
I don't know. I haven't played it yet.
I don't know either.
They'll tell us in the game, I'm sure. I actually saw it at my friend Victor's apartment last night. He loves it. However, and I can't wait to play it. Everyone's raving about it. We were playing it up on the screen. It is one of the ugliest games I've ever seen.
Really?
I mean, that's the biggest critique of the game is the graphics.
Really?
That they put no effort into them. And when I looked at the game, and I'm not super critical of games when it comes to graphics. I'll play anything. But I was like, someone did a bad job. They didn't, they actually genuinely didn't try, in my opinion.
Well, is it the price like $80 or like
I think it's
the
like
standard
$60
price of the game? Well, 60 US, which is like 80 CAD, right?
Yeah.
So,
So here's the thing. They've already sold like 6 million, or I think 64 million. I don't know. They sold a lot of copies of this game.
Right.
Pretty quickly. It just came out. So unfortunately, they're not going to see any consequences for having put out a game with absolutely terrible, disgusting graphics. But when I did see them, I was shocked. I was shocked at how bad they were. But I'm excited.
Henry was too stunned to speak.
The gameplay. I love Pokemon, and the only reason I haven't bought it yet is because I know as soon as I buy it, I'm not going to have time to do anything else because it's all I'm going to commit my time to.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm playing. What about you, Dale?
So, you're going to laugh. It's also another Nintendo game.
Oh.
I was given, I don't even know how to say this. I was gifted Breath of the Wild, all right? I've only opened it once to take photos of it for my Instagram. I've never played it. It's been out for how many years? I can't watch my friends stream it. I can't watch anything. Spoilers, okay? It's been out for how many years?
Literally years.
So today I'm going to start playing Breath of the Wild. I'm going to start playing it because, the nostalgia with Zelda, and we were talking about our first games and consoles and stuff. So that's what I'm going to play. And I'll update you in the next episode how I like it.
Yeah, let me know. I mean, I loved that game. It was a beautiful, wonderful time. I'm a diehard Zelda fan, except I didn't play Majora's Mask. But
Oh, I have that on DS.
It was just really hard, and I was scared at the time. But I can't wait to hear Dale.
You still are scared.
I'm still scared, and it's still hard. So I know they just re-released it. I'm like, I don't know if I know how to. I can't get past day 1. I don't get it. But that's so fun. I can't wait to hear if you like it. I loved it. I beat it. I'm not a completionist, but I had a blast. I'm not getting all those seeds. I don't have time for that. I have things to do.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for this wonderful dialogue and this conversation. And I am super stoked for all the new episodes to come. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. Every episode gets better, and I'm always left feeling so happy. So thank you, not only to you, Henry, but to everyone who listens. You guys you're wonderful. Easy Mode fans, we love you.
You really are great. I really am full of joy right now. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll be back next week with another episode. But until then, have fun and make sure it's on Easy Mode. Bye.
Easy Mode. Bye.